Hi, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catch-Up, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they are new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter, we will get to it all. Now, today we have to keep ourselves up with Objectcember. Remember, I promised full coverage of Objectcember, and I am here to deliver. So last time where we had where we left off Objectcember, we had just taken a look at the fourth chapter of Objectcember, which was Who's the Best Who, paired up with Ultimate Object Show, which was phase 3, right? Ever since then, the next 3 phases have dropped, being phase 5, Battle for Life 3, phase 6, Battle for Death 1, and then phase 7, Supernova SuperShow 3. We will be taking a look at these 3 shows today in the order that they released in terms of like their Objectcember status, right? Because it's a progression. You go through them as a progression. So we're going to be doing that, all right? If that's all that we'll be doing, I'm gonna need to see how much time I end up having. You know, I've been busy, so we're gonna see. But that's what will happen. Then if there's anything else outside of the original December schedule that we can throw in at the end, I will, because we have to catch up with shit. But yeah, let's go over here with a Battle for Life. Okay. Battle for Life is an object show created by TAF, or thethinkerina, a fellow YouTube creator with 181 subscribers. Their show has 3 episodes, all of which are relatively small. Let's start with the first one, released over a year ago. Battle for Life, Episode 1. We're just getting jarted. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 1 of Battle for Life, and interesting concept for a show for sure. It's very fast, it's very shitpost in the kind of the way that it works. There's no backing track, and the episodes has this kind of improvised vibe to it that makes it feel kind of, it's a slow pacing, right? But anyways, our show here is being hosted by God, apparently, which is a picture of like the sky. And then we have our contestants, which is every like stage of a human, sort of. We have a fetus, a baby, an infant, a toddler, a child, a teenager, an adult, and an old man. Those are the cast. All of them are taken from the same one image, but just cropped out for each person, which is great. And then Battle for Life, because presumably who gets eliminated dies. Therefore, that means that you are battling for life, right? You're battling for life. At least the eliminated contestant this episode ends up dying, or like going poo, right? So it seems like the idea is to survive by winning. Honestly, for as much as, of course, this is kind of a joke, it's not that bad of a concept. It's interesting, you know? Like, at the end of the day, one of the most successful Mr. Beast videos is Ages 1 to 100 compete for 100k. That is one of the best performing Mr. Beast videos. And look, I don't really care about Mr. Beast that much, but as far as videos that Mr. Beast put out, I do think that is one of the best ones in terms of what I watch. And why? Because it's an inherently interesting concept, right? At like, with like the way that people evolve, if what stage of the evolution ends up performing the best in this type of results, right? It's interesting of a concept in real life. Now, of course, here we're written the show, but it really doesn't seem like there's too much going on. I mean, the baby and the fetus, like, they can talk, even though, of course, real ones can't, right? And just a couple of characters are extreme, like child, infant, child, teenager, and are like pretty much, they seem to act roughly the same. Everybody else, the adult's too busy. The infant is I'm getting confused. Wait, who's the infant? Wait, was any of them the infant? Wait, or no, toddler. Wait, is there an infant? Oh, there is an infant. They're just irrelevant. Oh yeah. Well, like, the infant exists. They just don't say anything. But anyways, they form teams. We have Team 1, which ends up being the adult defeated the baby and the teenager. This is a decent team in terms of, like, because the teenager formed us. It's a decent team in theory, because the baby and the fetus, since they can talk, they can at least deliver their mind, and the adult and the teenager can do whatever they want. However, a teenager did not calculate that the adult is way too busy to do anything because they're working at 9 to 5 all the time, right? And then team two ends up being old man, child, infant, and toddler. This team is pretty poor. However, they do have toddler, so in a physical challenge, they should survive. And in fact, they do manage to break the cube, the toddler. It's a true weapon because if you can get them to do this physical activity, then they will be able to do it. The other team tried to break it with the teenager and adult together. They probably could have, but unfortunately, they were too busy. And however, because the adult was too busy, everybody votes out the adult, and the adult gets eliminated. I know, right? Not the fan favorite, the character you'd expect to be the best is already out. So that's just how it goes here in the battle for life economy. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's a very slow paced show. It's a little bit of a shit post, but like I'm like mildly intrigued to see like if it's actually going to try evolving itself, haha, evolution, or if it's gonna just stick to the same old principles and get boring. Let's find out in episode 2. Airpod? No thanks. I just ate. Alright, that is episode 2 of Battle for Life. So challenge, eat an AirPod that is on the floor, because that makes sense. And then Infant seems to be nearing over to it to try to do the challenge. However, we're like, yo, teenager could probably swallow it, and I mean correct. However, they're on their phone, which means they're not looking. Oh no, what will we ever do? Well, the baby manages to somehow make a notification prop up on bro's phone saying that there's a new trend called the AirPod eating trend. Okay, yes, the baby did all that. Yes, of course. That's the thing that was done. So then they go eat the AirPod, and then their team save. Good job. I have no idea how the baby managed to get a notification out there. It makes no sense, but like we're gonna go along with it. In the meanwhile, everybody, the other team doesn't really do much. The infant was nearing over to it, but it's kind of weird. Again, like, they can use the toddler. The toddler has so much energy, sure, they'll probably eat it, right? Or, like, the child has enough logic still where they can probably go for it. They just, I don't know what that team was doing. They weren't doing anything. They were standing still. It's kind of what I don't like about these challenges, is that, like, when we're seeing one team do it, why is the other team frozen in time? What the fuck are they doing, right? That's kind of what I don't like about episodes written like this. But anyway, it's a tie between toddler and child after the contestant vote. However, unfortunately, child gets crushed by an anvil, which means that the toddler remains and child is gone. The only minds on this team are getting eliminated, bro. And I mean, since we eliminated adult only to turn teenager into the next adult. Like, oh, adult can't do anything because they're working. Oh no, now from episode 2 onwards, teenager can't do anything because they're just on their phone all the time. Like, okay, bro. Alright, it's time for episode 3, which is already the Objectcember release. 5th chapter. Battle for Life episode 3, never talk about Battle for Life. Sure. I mean, I will. No, actually not sure. Incorrect. I will talk about Battle for Life a lot. Let's go. Alright, well, that is episode 3 of Battle for Life and the Objectcember chapter. So we start off here with the Objectcember intro with stage 5 of it. It always looks like stage 4 because line is just so unbelievably small, but yeah, blue for represent the sky. So we end up having ourselves, you gotta remember that I think it's been a decent bit since Battle for Life. Because, of course, I said Battle for Life 1 was over a year ago, and Battle for Life episode 2 was 9 months ago, which means that this episode is. Do I think this episode took 9 months in production? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it had 9 months in production, but in general, it's got some variations. We have ourselves a new intro, all right, featuring all of our contestants bobbling about back and forth. What I think of this intro, it's fine, but I mean, it's less creative because at the end of the day, okay, yeah, sure, it's a GD song. However, I mean, the concept of utilizing Battle for Life in a of utilizing Heartbeat in a Battle for Life, because you're gaining, like, it's inherently a smart idea, but we ditched it, right? So that's kind of unfortunate. But I mean, I do like the scenes at the end of the intro where we end up having um like teenager get like shunned away and stuff. Like it's cool, right? But we end up having ourselves a couple of little of chats. The contestants, actually chatting to each other between before the challenge. So we end up having Infant be depressed because um Child is gone, and that was their only friend. You could tell because they interacted one time. you, yes, I'm. This was so clear. This was so obvious. I'm doing sarcasm, by the way. It's yeah. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, when the other team goes like, "Yo, we're like pretty good because this is a good day." Teenager not on their phone anymore. I guess they got bored of TikTok. And then the other team is doing interesting. The baby, it's the joke is that the baby just way smarter than they have any right to be. That's a joke. I think that is the joke because I it's yeah, whatever. And then we end up having ourselves the next challenge, the challenge which ends up being a big fight. Okay, it's just simple. It's a fight. Team that manages to knock out the other team first wins. And it's like, oh no, this is so hard. Until we are facing this fierce team of old man and infant. To be fair, I actually really like the gag of them being like, oh shit, our team's good. And then they list off the members on their team. Is that way? No, they're not. They actually suck ass. But they end up using a tactic to get to literally one go of them. They yeet fetus at the toddler, and it bounces off because the thing about the fetus asset is that it's like encircled, right? So it's kind of like if it was a basketball, so it can bounce over like a basketball, which means that that team manages to absolutely solo the competition, and then the other team gets out. Everybody votes for Infant, including Infant themselves, because they want to die. And that is that for episode 3 of Battle for Life. It is okay. I mean, the series is fine. It is extremely short. It's not really. It's like it. Okay, it comes in with an interesting concept. It doesn't really do much to give itself a lot of substance, right? This is the type of thing where it's like episode by episode. I don't know how much you really care, right? Especially because the episodes are really short, right? This is the type of show where it's I'd expect people to maybe watch like the compilation of those shows where like people watch the compilation of all the episodes, right? Like full season one. Like basically that's what I'd expect to properly be able to watch because episode by episode it's just too short. It's kind of too short to really care in a sense. And of course I know I take a look at like episodes that are super short all the time, but like again usually I tend to do it in batches, right? But in this show there's only been 3 episodes, right? So it ends up being a little bit more complicated, but I mean overall it's fine for what it's trying to be, which is a little bit like kind of half shit post, half yo what if this was a thing. And like I see the concept. If it's an interesting pilot, okay, like if somebody were to take this concept and actually try to deliver it into a show that's fully made, right? Like with all of the segments required. I think it'd be interesting, to be honest. However, like this, it's kind of like it's a fundamental. It's like a minimum viable product, right? It's like, yo, we're doing this thing. Yo, this is how this thing would kind of maybe possibly go, and here's a super rough draft of a show that would do that, right? Because again, it's super rough. The background is a JPEG, right? Like every character is a JPEG. God is a JPEG. There's not really a script that's made like properly, right? Everything goes by fast. The challenges are kind of random. Like it's a very rough draft of what a good show with this would be like. And overall, I don't mind watching it. Again, it's fast. It's not. I don't like. It was not an unenjoyable experience. I just don't really care about it too much. I'm just gonna be 100% honest out here. But overall, I mean, I'll definitely check out future episodes of Battle for Life. And that is that. I talked about Battle for Life. I'm sorry to the title of the episode, but sometimes that's the job. That's what I do here. So yeah. Alright, the next show that we're going to be taking a look at is the following chapter of Objectcember, Chapter 6. We don't need any preemptive, we can just get straight into it because it's in episode 1. So, we just looked at Battle for Life. It's time to take a look at the inverse, Battle for Death, or BFD. Created by primarily, or at least it's uploaded on the owner channel, or tponer, which is YouTuber, 1,000 subscribers. They are mainly known for making another show that I think will have an Objectcember chapter later on in December. However, them, alongside Taff, who made Battle for Life, have uploaded the first episode of the series Battle for Death. The episode 1 is titled Hooked on Blackjack. Let's start it. Let's go. Alright, so I just watched Battle for Death 1, and wow, okay, that is an immensely interesting concept. So, we get to see for the first time in history the fella that's actually in the Objectcember intro here in the middle, which is, I think, called Sammy Algebralian. What I think of Sammy Algebralian, they're cute. I actually like them quite a bit. The way that the way that they speak is like, it's pretty soft. It's kind of fun. The only thing sinister about it is the prize of the show, right? So, the prize of the show is death. Okay? What does that mean? Right, like, that is interesting, isn't it? So, it's like the contestants, they're all pretty content with not dying, so they actively end up having this very interesting little situation where, like, you have to literally lose. Like, you want to lose, you want to get eliminated, you have to get yourself to be out of the show, because that's what you want to do. That is everybody's global achievement, is to do that, right? Which makes for a very different thing. Because, like, in Battle for Life, for example, at the end of the day, if you battle for life, it's just a show, but with higher stakes. And a lot of object shows, they're pretty much Battle for Life without even trying to be, right? Because you get disintegrated if you lose. However, in a show like this, it's a completely different thing. Okay, it's not the only show I've watched where the prize is death. The prize is also death in File D2B. I mean, no, because however, that shows an entirely different situation, right? Like, we bought all these things to sentience for the first time, and, like, if you win, you'll get to go back to just being an object, because being sentient kind of sucks. That's like the completely different situation, right? But, yeah, we end up having the interesting inverse of the fact that you have to simply do the lose, right? However, to lose, you have to specifically not do the challenge. There's a degree of, like, you need to do, like, an attempt at the challenge, because, you see, otherwise, like, Sammy will point you out and will complain about you, right, and everything. And presumably, I think if you throw too much, Sammy might just make you do it forcefully, right? Which is why there's the contestants are currently, they're playing extreme, right? Like, they play 52 pickup. You can't just not pick up any cards. You're gonna start to get fucked, right? Like, it's gonna be complicated. But eventually we end up having the two teams, which end up being Red 21, which has a gunshot, some troll face fella, and Red 21, which is the most annoying character in all the show history. I don't know how we've invented it. But, yeah. And, well, the White House speakers, I don't even know what half of these characters are. There's Canada flag, which is actually really interesting, because the flag itself is being held up by a person, which is kind of cool. We have a pound coin, a JPEG, a stock image of a tomato, a carpeted city, a guy with the zipper on a guy's jacket image, and then top 20 videos or whatever. Okay, which is interesting. Then the challenge is 52 pickup. Yeah, again, you have to pick up 52 cards that you have in front of you. So then we end up having a couple of ideas for how we can get the other team to pick up the cards, because you can't pick up their cards, because otherwise you'll pick up the cards, right? So you have to get it. What Team Red 21 does is they tape a magnet to the back of the carpeted wall, while they're distracted by Red 21, which is the most distracting and annoying person to ever grace this earth. And then the cards, because they're made of metal. Wait, what? Hold on. No, man, it wouldn't work. It's fucking made of metal. The cards are metal? Wait, no, that's not how that works. No. I mean, look, other than the fact that it's 100% bullshit that the playing cards would get picked up by a magnet. Like, that's bullshit. But, eventually, they pick up the cards. However, Red 21 accidentally distracts the host, which means that by just shimmying over and dumping the cards on them, they technically picked it up, which means that Red 21 lose. So, Red 21 absolutely throws there. But, well, sorry, by they lose, I mean they win. So, dude, this is a mind screw. But yeah, that team wins, which is not good, right? So then they're safe for now. There's going to be a good chunk of opportunities, of course, because there is a relatively large cast, right? Like, going up for elimination, at some point you're going to manage it. However, I think what these contestants aren't thinking is that, like, being up for elimination, you're going to be up for elimination at some point. It's impossible to just be safe every time, right? You have to make yourself votable, right? I think that's what they're not clocking. They need to start clocking this, because otherwise it's going to become complicated. Because if you just don't do a challenge, you're not interesting, but you're not going to get voted for because you actually want to eliminate somebody. But it's interesting how, like, when somebody wants to be eliminated, what the fuck's the voting procedure, right? Like, what are the viewers actually going? What are we actually going to be voting for? Like, or because, like, for example, if you have a super mean character, are we actually going to vote to eliminate them, which is what they want, or would it be the inverse, where it's like it's a super nice character we don't want to see die, then we vote to eliminate? Like, it's interesting. Like, how much thought are we putting into it? Are we doing vote to eliminate as if a person would regularly do vote to eliminate, or are we going to pretty much treat the vote to eliminate as a vote to save because the prize is reversed and nobody actually wants it? That's the thing. Who's getting eliminated? I have no idea. Like, most of the people don't do anything on purpose. Oh, Guy and Zip are different characters. Oh, okay. So I don't know. I'm okay. I'm gonna treat this as a who I want to not die. I was gonna say I like Canada Flag as a design. As far as the designs, I think I like it the most. So I'm gonna say that I want Canada Flag to be alive. Therefore, I want to eliminate them. Does that make sense? Okay, that is the yes. That is the wow. This show, I'm lost. I'm lost in the sauce right now. What is happening? But, like, all right, it's a cool idea. It's a cool idea. I don't know if it's an original idea. Again, there's been 1 billion objects shown in the history of life. This sounds like an idea of a reverse show where you want to get eliminated. Actively feels like a thing that an object would have done in the past, but I've personally not seen it. Therefore, that means that I think that it's cool, and therefore I like it. So yeah, cool idea. Shout out to this. But all right, that's all I can really say about Battle for Death 1. Gonna be awaiting Battle for Death 2. I've become very interested to see how the voters pick their votes, and that's all. Next thing. Alright, and then the currently latest chapter of Objectcember is none other than Supernova SuperShow. Supernova SuperShow is created by PiggyPug, which is a person that we have heard a bit about because they were a character in BFTDI, which is another of the Objectcember chapters of the past. I believe in terms of just popularity, I think this is the biggest show here in the Objectcember lineup. I think it is. But yeah, it only has 3 episodes. However, they're all big. They're all big videos that are going to require big chats. So we need to start off at the beginning. The beginning was over 1 year ago with episode 1 of Supernova SuperShow, which was titled Stars in Sight. Let's watch it. Let's talk about it. Let's start the journey here. Alright, so I have just watched Supernova SuperShow 1 Stars in Sight. Now, you might have been wondering either here or before, why I didn't watch the apparent earlier seasons of this show, and the reason was simply because I don't realize it, okay? Again, my rule set for season coverage, alright, is that I will cover a season of a show if it is a clearly laid out season that is written in the show, right? Which means that, like, in the same way that, like, sure, in animatic battle, right, you reference object for eventually. It's not a clearly labeled that, oh, this is season 2, right? In the same way that this show isn't labeled. So if by the time I've realized it, I'm already with watching the show. It's too late. All right, it's too late. I'm not gonna go back and re-record everything, right? Which means that like in this case, the earlier editions of this, which are, I think, Object Pineapple, whatever, I have not watched. I won't currently watch them. Either way, again, that is also the default experience of most people. Episode 1 of Supernova Super Show has not over than 85,000 views compared to the 8,000 that Object Pineapple has in terms of view count, which means that like it's different, right? So either way, yeah. But there's a bunch of characters that are returning from them, and either way, like again, it's not a big deal, but it's just a thing. And anyways, so animatic battle, we're gonna need to mention that a lot here because this is that style. It's not just that style. It's directly that formula. It's not directly that formula. You could debate it's just that. It's like one of the okay. I'm gonna be honest, right? In terms of episodes, right, that I just for catch up that I enjoy watching, this type of episode, right, the type of episode that is the animated battle one, right, style of episode, which I know it's really dumb to say, but that is like its own little like formula of an episode, right, because it's unique to other stuff. I actually don't really like watching this type of video that much because it is so much effort to watch, which is weird. It's like, oh, you're just watching it. Yeah, but like if you actually want to take in the information that is being delivered to you in this show, you have to put in a genuinely exorbitant amount of like brain power to just focus, right? You can't like just watch the interactions because you need to just understand there's so many clocking in, right? You're getting first impression after first impression after first impression after first impression, and it's overwhelming, right? This show at the end of the day is overwhelming. So yeah, and even though I don't really enjoy it, I do say that if you're gonna do a show like this, it is one of the more necessary things. Like at the end of the day, you need to do it. If you're having a show with 64 people in it, you're going to require 64 if you consider the host 65 people, right? There's just an immense amount of people that you eventually need to introduce. One day, okay, let's start off here at the very beginning. So there's a warning at the start with the flash and lights warning. I'm gonna say huge respect for having a warning in episode 1. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. When you make a show and already have a warning on it, I appreciate it. Sometimes when a show comes in and randomly, oh, you got popular, you put in the warning after. It's like, okay, I appreciate it, but you're kind of doing it not it's a problem, right? But like, I like putting it preemptively before stuff. That's useful. Anyhow, we have ourselves our characters. There is a mountain ton of characters, 64 of them. Well, I talked about each one. Probably not in major detail, because I don't even know each one of them in major detail. Like, even the little first character that I see, I don't even remember what they are. They're like a cabinet. They're like a drawer. I don't even know. But they come in here with the clickbait circle, who doesn't speak. There's a bunch of characters that don't speak. Clickbait circle ends up sort of winding. They like speak in wind. Like a ooh. Like that's kind of how they roll. And then we have ourselves Ruler, who does the whole eraser thing that every show has to do. Yeah, so not Ruler. Tape measure. Sorry, tape measure. Drop knocks over a. Who the hell? Who are you? What's your name? You're like a small fella. You're like the small fella. You look pretty interesting, but I don't remember your name. It's like a marshmallow. Oh no, it is a marshmallow. Okay, yeah. And then there is the one-eyed pizza box. Yeah, there's the one-eyed pizza box. They're a big fan of people with one eyes. So. That's fair. Then there's Major Tom, one of the few people who are not directly an object. They're a human person, right? Kind of. They speak in the third person constantly. Major Tom enjoys Major Tom, right? So it's like, okay. That's that. Then we've got Popcorn. Okay, one thing I'm gonna say in general about the cast is that I actually think that in terms of like the cast you gotta do, right? It's pretty good. It's a good cast. I mean, like, there's a lot of very unique character designs in this show, right? Like, unique character designs, unique character ideas, and I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. I think it's cool. right? And I know that like it's different, but when you have a show with 64 people, you're gonna need to do this a lot, right? Because you're gonna just need to have this whole situation, right, with everybody there, and you're not gonna be able to make people memorable based on interaction. So you need to have a character be memorable at a glance. You need to be able to look at a character and immediately go, they look interesting, right? And that is one thing that I think this show is pretty good. I think that the designs themselves are all pretty interesting. Okay, well maybe not all, but majority of them are pretty interesting. We have Popcorn and Colonel. As usual, I like characters. There are multiple characters. One of them is the legs. The other one's is the arms. Watermelon bomb. They're a bomb, but watermelon. I mean, I guess watermelons explode, right? If you like drop them down. So it's like that's like a thing about watermelons. So like, okay, that's cool. Then we have iTest and 3DS Folder. These two are friends. I really don't know much about them other than they pretty much appear in the same scenes forever, and I only realized it was a 3DS Folder until they mentioned the name. It's a 3DS Folder, bro. So yeah. Okay, what happens? Oh yeah, they knock down a rock. No, sorry. Popcorn knocks down a rock, which goes on the hill, and then so majority of people die. Then we got like a pedestal. Sorry, I don't remember. Like I don't remember how. I'm so bad with names, especially again in shows like this where again I don't have time to put it in my head. We got a cactus. Okay, yeah, cactus pot. They're like kind of mean. But they're kind of mean, lazy, egotistical. The podium fella is kind of, you're not called a podium, whatever. But the podium stand fella ends up being it's kind of seems to be the more worried character. You know, they're more like they're like very worried fella. Twister is the algebraian of the lot, right? I think Animated Battle also has somebody that's an algebraian, right? Do you? Wait, am I in a different show? Wait, I don't. You know what? One thing that I find funny is how I actually don't remember Animatic Battles cast. Animatic Battle cast. Give me a moment. There was an algebraian in this cast, right? Hold on. Give me a minute. I'm doing some there was this freaking exclamation mark. It's like the most important character. Basically, I don't remember it again. But yeah, Twister's that. But yeah. Then we have a file folder. Oh yeah, file folder. File folder is very memorable because they're just really stupid. Like they're the 2010s memes. I don't know why we gave it a file folder. Like for how much like a lot of characters seem to make sense with their personality. I don't know why the file folder is a 2010s meme reference machine, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. They're pretty cool. They're no scope, bro. But also, like they're gonna buy Dogecoin. Sorry, yeah, I don't think did this age well. I don't think it aged well. All right, then we have the who the fuck. They have a matchbox of color pencils. Yes, this is a good I like characters like this. This is a cool character. I like it. I like characters that they do also need to conserve something with them. It's cool. I mean, it's not a unique character. I'm pretty sure the host of OSO, right? Isn't the host of OSO just this? But like in general, it's pretty swag. Then we got who Lychee? You're called Lychee, right? You're like that thing. You're just tired. You're the super relaxed, tired one who mainly just sleeps. And they're kind of blissfully unaware of things. Hello, rolling friend, and then they die. And then we have the other super relaxed one, which is the freaking just a pink flower. I'm sure you have a name. I didn't get time to catch it, and I don't know who the other one's name is. They're like a pot. What are you? You're like a pot fella. Yeah, I don't know enough about you. Lemon speaks in kind of cool language. You know what I mean? You're speaking like cool language. Yeah, you're speaking cool language. Okay. So that's what they do. I'm trying to rapid fire a little bit because there's just so many. There's just so many people, man. Like, okay, media player. And then there's like a cocktail. Yeah, there's like a media player. You're fine. You don't get to know much about them. They want to open a box. They ask Algebra Tile, which is one of the returnees. Apparently they can turn evil, at least in the credit scene, they turn evil. They do the evil tile or whatever. So they're interesting. They ask WarioWare Bomb, which looks sick, by the way. WarioWare Bomb, she looks fire. But they open the safe because they're the only one who knows the password. They actively say the number 27419. Don't know what that I don't know if that number is a reference, but I hope it becomes a reference because I like the little detail, and then hope other things will have this number. And the recovery hose comes in because the recovery hose, we need recovery, right? Which is cool. Which means a hologram isn't needed anymore. Hologram is a character, a coolest character idea of all time. But yeah, they're like the hologram base is a character and the hologram itself. And if they can twist and shape into a person, then they get revived. Which is pretty cool. It seems to, like, the hologram base likes it, but the hologram itself isn't actually a big fan. You know what I find interesting? The person they recover is this like weird leaf thing that I don't remember the name of, but like they end up. They're like, I'm just gonna call them Fever, okay? No, that's not their name. But interesting enough, they're either blue. They're the only character to have a blue iPad. However, like I originally thought, yo, that's cool. When hologram recovers somebody, they I guess retain a certain level of hologramness because oh, their eyes are blue, their mouth are blue, they're like hologram, right? But like, I don't think that's what's happening. I think that's just that character design, and that's a coincidence, which is unfortunate. If I think that should be a thing, okay? I think we should put that into the things that are cool. But either way, we don't get to see hologram recover anybody else, so it's impossible to really know. Then we have a dog balloon. No, a bone balloon, a dog bone balloon. Who gets recovered to test out the recovery hose. We have a fella that's just a bunch of triangles, who's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. They're like pretty excited. Then we have an evil Pop Tart who is evil and also a Pop Tart. What are they? They're like they're kind of a murdery. Like if you bother them too much, they're not afraid to do the make you dying, right? So they're like that character. They're not evil in the sense that they just do evil things, but like they'll do evil things if you prompt them to, basically. Like don't poke them and then you'll be fine. Then we have Math Textbook, who is the kind of egotistical and I'm smarter than anybody else character. That is probably the most predictable thing that character could have been. Microphony is kind of the blissfully super dumb yippee character, I think. They, at least from what I've currently gathered about them, which is not much. Again, they're on screen for a total of 20 seconds. Then we have this grape soda, grape juice, grape can. There are many names. You know, because I was wondering, how can I not remember object names? Like this should be easy. But like this could be called 100 different things if you really think about it. But yeah, they're the ones who end up stealing during the challenge. They seem to kind of uh they're like fine. I mean, they're kind of challenge oriented. They seem to be pretty strategical, right? They'll do what it takes to win. They're like that type character. They're like, I'm gonna do what it takes to win. Then we have the enchanting table. Yet again, coolest character idea ever. Yo, that's actually fire. And they can do like magic and shit. So that's sick. Then we have the cube. What are you? You're like a cube with a bunch of bees. You're like a freaking no, you're not algebra. Algebra's the other one. you're like a no, you're thing. The chemical table. Yes. The lemony, yeah, the other fella dies. Yeah, fake item box. Fake item box, yes. Fake item box is the evil character. There's one in Animatic that is also literally exactly like this. Do I remember which one? I don't. Time to go look at the cast again. B block, yes, B block. Okay, I remember. You see, I gotta look at it. I'll know if I look at it, but I can't actually remember off the top of my head. Yeah, this is just B block. I mean, it's actually hilarious how much it is just B block. But like, I mean, I guess there's a spin on it. No, wait, is is there a spin on it? I'm trying to find. I'm trying to be nice. No, there isn't. Okay, whatever. But yeah, it's pretty much the thing. I do like this character in a combination with like I think Lucky Block, who's the character that doesn't speak. You don't get to see much about him. They seem to be a pretty good fighter. I actually like the contrast they can have between a Lucky Block and the fake item box, even though I mean they're derived from different games. However, like they're obviously very similar in terms of design, right? I actively would like to see this be a correlation that gets actually made. Like, I think Lucky Block and Fake Item Box, that is an interesting duo of characters to have around at the same time. You know, like they could, I don't know if they could interact or anything, but I think that there's possibilities there, right? So I hope that happens. Then what the hell do we have? We have Weezer case of Weezer. There's there. Do I know much about this character? No, not really. They seem they're pretty normal. They're one of the more normal ones. A telephone is kind of they speak with like they have the little filter that makes it more like amplified. So it sounds like a telephone. They're cool. I like them. They're like a little telephone, and their design is kind of sick. Major Tom and can also morph into things, which is going to be very useful, presumably for challenges and stuff. It ends up being majorly helpful. They can morph into seemingly basically anything. Then yeah, fake item boss decides that being mischievous means that they're gonna murder literally everybody in their surroundings. There's a pencil fella who just you're like a drawing pencil. But anyways, they get thrown at high speeds. They're never one of those blissfully unaware characters because they're just you know they're just like yay. I don't mind this, right? The ambulance is what happens to everybody else, if you can even hear it. Then we have a bunch of rainbow fellas. There's so many rainbow characters. So there's a rainbow brick. Okay, yes. Hello, ambulance. Okay. All right. I don't know who they're. I mean, I'm looking at the scene where everybody dies. So maybe that's what they're doing. So we have, dude. I know. Okay, I genuinely have no idea what any of these characters' name are. So there's rainbow brick. Then there's like a rainbow drink. Then there's another rainbow thing. Who is rainbow? Like rainbow smoothie? I don't. Genuinely, I could not tell you. But all right then. They end up dying. Then we have a plank. Oh yeah, the plank is you're kind of a memer. You're like Family Guy clips, kind of, but not necessarily, right? Like you're not. It's a gimmick in the sense that it's not what the character is, right? It doesn't have to be every line. It's just sometimes they say memes. All right, so that's like kind of interesting. And then we have Highlighter, who is just a highlight. Yeah, I cannot tell you anything about them. They're pretty logical. Yeah, the musical instruments. The triangle doesn't realize they're a musical instrument. I think it's interesting. They can't play themselves, I think, because one of their one of their arms is the stick that you play with a musical triangle. That's kind of cool, isn't it? That's kind of sick. But then we have the xylophone, who's like, everything can be solved with music. I will now play myself, which is they do that like twice, and that's the extent of their interactions. But hey, it's kind of cool. Then we end up having Frog Bin. This is another duet of characters. The bin itself has eyes and is a frog, and there's also hold on, wait. The top part of the bin is a section, and then no, wait, hold on. How to say it? The bin is a guy, and then the frog is a guy. So there's a frog in the bin. Yes, okay. I find it really interesting how like we do this. Actually, we do this guy kind of interestingly. How like the pencil, right, again, they're getting thrown into the frog bin, which means that they choke and die. However, that's kind of interesting how it's like, would the bin die? I mean, no, but also yes, they do. I would argue that they shouldn't. I think it's more interesting if they shouldn't. Like if one of them can be alive while the other dies, but like it's kind of interesting. Then we have the boombox. The boombox is one of those like curious people. They're like if Pillow wasn't evil. You know, they're like, they have the pillow curiosity. You know, the pillow curiosity when they're like, hello. That's not what Pillow sounds like. What does Pillow sound like? Pillow has like Pillow is a very unique voice. That's really good. Hello, Four. I am interested in your capability. You know, it's like this. Yes, but it's not like that. But yeah. Then the fuse explodes. Then we have a download symbol with an PNG. I tried to. What is this? Who is bro? By the way, one thing that I'm actually gonna point out, 'cause I'm definitely gonna forget, is that I actually really like the way that the duo characters are portrayed in the credits. I actually really like it. Like the way that like the half of the characters are like split between the half of the one and the other. I think that's kind of sick. I kind of like that. So that's cool. But I know I will forget. One of them is spoken over by the Sam Microsoft thing, which I've heard. It's also a character in Animated Battle. I think it's it's one of them. It's the upload. Yes, upload. I looked at the cast images. But yeah. Then we have a doctor fella who speaks in like Donald Duck That's pretty much the extent of it. They speak in Donald Duck. They get very confused a file folder like every time, and that's about the extent of it, which is fine. Then we end up having none other than Clark. There's Clark, who is another character who exists, and I certainly do see them speak. I don't. Again, it's not enough for me to really gauge too much about them, but they're one-eyed. I think they're relatively. They seem like one of the more logical ones. They kind of call out bullshit when they're like, "Yo, who the fuck are you?" When they talk to like the pizza box, right? A bunch of people get recovered and everything. ABC3. Oh yeah, ABC3. I don't. What is ABC3? This is like a style. Okay, this is like a style of character that exists, which is interesting. Um, I know that it's from another show. It's not from animatic, but I know that there's another show that has this type of character. But yeah, ABC3. They're like a news. They're not a news person. Like they're not. They're like a YouTuber, like kind of character, which is weird because they're news. There's like a TV channel, right? So like I'm confused at what the hell is going on because it's like yo, what did you think? Comment down below. Like, that's not a news though, so that's why I'm confused. Is this a news channel? I'm about to genuinely be looking up ABC3. Are you real? Television station in Australia. ABC Me. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's not real. No, wait, this is the logo of the Australian one. They just don't. What is it? What did the logo? Did they not have a logo? Okay, well they're lame. Whatever. I'm a big fan of getting the shot. Ever notice? Then we end up having a lot of other people. There's another. Okay, hold on. Who are these rainbow people? There's rainbow ice cream. There's like a rainbow candle, and there's like a rainbow smoothie. I think that's what's going on. Are you a candle? What are you? You're like a bunch of triangles, bro. Who the hell? Nah. These are the types of catch-ups where like I really should probably find a way to show what I'm looking at on the screen, but it's just annoying because then I also have to show me tabbing out. So just pretend I know. Then there's a charger with a wire, which is pretty cool. The wire itself can act as an arm, which is sick. I always enjoy that. And then there's like a USB port by itself, which is a different character. Stop. Then who the hell do we have? We have a cubed pepper who doesn't speak. They seem to they're like super glitched. We have a fella. I could not tell you who this is. They're I don't care character. They're very orange. They look like a buzzer. I don't know, but yeah, no, generally cannot tell you what it is. There's Box of Glaggles, who happens to have glaggles, which are just smiley faces. They apparently run away. They mostly chill within the box. However, in other cases, they will remain. Then there's also pizza. You're a pizza something. You're like a pizza ball. You're not a pizza box. You're like an open pizza box. A pizza, whatever. Then we have Torte, which is the name of the character. I just thought that was the guy being cool and being like, haha, I'm gonna have a slang name for you, because the other guy who is something ends up being like, yeah, you drop your shades, right? So yeah, Tord ends up doing their whole thing. They're pretty normal. That the only thing I know about them. Then we have the other character that's super impulsive, which is the pin apple, pin apple. I think it's called pin apple. And the pin apple is like okay, I think. They're not a copy of anything, but they just need to find out useless random bullshit about people from time to time. All right, like it's just one of the things that they need to do. All right. So yeah, Pineapple's pretty interesting. Then we have Holy Macaroni, which is a great character. They're kind of like the god, they're not the god, but they're like, let's bless ourselves or whatever. All right. So they're kind of interesting. Then I think we roughly end in terms of introducing new characters, because then we end up introducing our host. So the highlighter. Okay. So Pineapple ends up getting the highlighter cap because they really want to see what highlighter is for some reason. And that's like illegal information. So by pull of force, it ends up yeeting it into space. It ends up hitting the sun, which makes the sun explode. What happens when the sun explodes? A supernova. Yeah, I forgot to mention the parallelogram. They speak in they're like especially British. A lot of the cast are British because like the main voice actors. However, like they speak especially exquisitely. which is interesting. Then we have, for some reason, okay, enchanting table does some magic. I don't know what they do, but I don't know. I don't think it impacts anything. Everybody dies, okay? Because it's a supernova. Fun fact: if the sun isn't there, people die. Right? Did you know that would happen like very quickly? Like it happened it happened very fast. So then we get to see everything. And then the only person who are two people are alive, which is Twister, who's the algebra alien, and then Major Tom. So they're the two characters that are alive, right? At the end of it, well, we end up also seeing Supernova. The intro is like it's animatic battle if it was just animatic battle again. And then we have our host, the Supernova, who ends up for some reason murdering Major Tom until showing them that they can recover people, which is useful. So they have a third method of recovery. This might be like the amount of recovery methods per capita of the show. I think is higher than I've ever seen. I've never seen more ways to recover a character in this show. You gotta show this show to the people of AS4. I'm sure they could use it. Okay, so then we end up having our little host, which is Supernova. What do I think of Supernova? I think absolutely nothing of Supernova. I'm gonna be honest, right? Okay, so the thing about animatic battle, like style shows, is that like, okay, sure, you want to have a crazy little dookie host, but what makes your crazy little dookie host different? What makes Supernova different? The answer is, I don't fucking know. You're like the same. You're like animatic but boring because you're not interesting to look at. Like that's the problem I'm having. Okay, the thing about Supernova is the Supernova could be an interesting character to look at. The Supernovas look crazy cool, but the problem is the Supernova is just a PNG with a red face on it, who acts like animatic in terms of has this, oh, I'm so nice, la la la, and then goes, brow. Right, so they do that. Okay, yes, that's animatic, but then they're boring to look at, which is the one thing that animatic is decisively not. Right, so then that's cool, but then you're just the same. You're just animatic but less interesting. Right, like you're just animatic and less interesting, and it's kind of like, okay, I mean, cool. I don't know. We're gonna need to work on this. Okay, Supernova, you need work. If you're just like this, okay, but again, you're boring. I'm sorry, because it's like, okay, sure, I don't mind, a animatic style to host, but it needs to have a bit of a distinction. You need to act different, right? But Supernova acts pretty much exactly the same, right? Anything that you do, animatic would realistically also do in that situation, right? Like it would be one of the things. Of course, animatic is random, so animatic could do a lot of things, but what Supernova does is one of them, right? And I could see currently Supernova doing anything that animatic does. Basically, that's kind of the question, right? It's like, is something you gotta ask this question, right? When doing them, you wanna have somebody with like a similarity, but not a like direct imitation, right? You don't want to imitate animatic. You want to do a similar thing that's different. But like, so then you have to look at the decision tree, right? What would X do in this situation, and would X also do it, right? Because currently, I'm going to be honest, in just the way that I'm looking at it, it's pretty much exactly the same, right? Like it's so similar. And it kind of stopped being interesting after a little bit. Like, I do like this cast of people, right? I think it's cool. I do like all of the shenanigans. However, it's kind of just it's the host is a little bit unfortunate, but they end up forming teams using the rest of their time. We're gonna not really talk about the team forming too much, because I mean, it's mostly just people going, yo, I'll be with you. No, you won't be with me. No, I'll be with you. I'll be with you. There's not too much to say about team forming. I talk about the finished teams. So, we end up having the Major Beans, okay, who is the Glaggles Evil Pop-Tart, the Pizza Fella, who I think is a pizza, the 3DS Folder, Major Tom, Torte, I Test, and the Fly. You can fly. And the Enchanting Table. Okay. That team is pretty good. That team is gonna be in a good spot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's a couple of I think Torte and I Test can act as some pretty solid minds. No, sorry, the eye test in 3DS for can act as some pretty solid minds as well. We've got Major Tom, who is excellent player to have on your team out of just simply no, just simply it unlocks so many things that you can do. And then Enchanted Table, we don't know much about them either, but they look pretty good. Calm and Collected, we have the Cocktail Media Player, Xylophone, a Triangle, Cool, the Chill Flower, WarioWare Bomb, the Feather, and then the Orange thing. Okay, this team is okay. I mean, I don't know. What am I thinking here? What am I thinking? Who's gonna be the charge for this team? I mean, there's a lot of kind of I don't care. There's a lot of people that would brush off other ideas on this team. I mean, the musical instruments, they're kind of way too clabbered up in their own musical instruments. Media Player is probably pretty interesting. I think Media Player can be sort of a charging force for this team. So it's like, okay, I'm worried about it because like I think if you took away somebody like Media Player from this team, you end up being cooked, right? Because like other than that, I don't really see who else is gonna dictate the charge because the Flower is a bit too chill. Anybody else would be a little bit too complicated. Yeah, I don't know. The Twisters end up being the math textbook, file folder, pill doctor, lychee, algebra tile, the plank, the stand fella, and then ABC3. This team needs to oh god. No, this team just isn't great. Oh god, I'm looking at it. I was like, oh my god. Okay, if algebra tile, I can't clock if algebra tile is smart or not. But then who cares? No, because the problem about this team is math textbooks has comprised a perfect team of people who don't give a shit, right? Like File Folder just gonna be overhyped about it. The pill doesn't really understand anything. Lighty's just gonna be sleeping. The plank is also a memer. ABC3 is also a gimmick character, right? And the stand just too worried. So who's actually gonna go do a thing in this team? Yeah, not many people. Yeah, nah, this team's fucked. Okay. Pick and mix. We got Twister, Holy Macaroni, tape measure, the weird blob guy, lucky block, cacti, cactus pot, parallelogram. No, you're not called a parallelogram. You're that weird shape, and then the triangle mountains. Okay, this team. This team's good. I mean, okay, this team is theoretically good. All you need is cooperation. Holy Macaroni is very potentially useful. Like, I mean, it's very useful. No, very useful. And you can. The thing about Holy Macaroni is not only they're a flying contestant with powers, but they're currently a flying contestant with powers that's actually approachable, right? Like, it's not. Because the thing about, for example, Twister is that Twister's fine. However, Twister is very much so in the era of like you need to try to get Twister to do what the fuck you want, which is very difficult, right? It's a very challenging thing to do, right? So yeah. And the other fellas, there's a bunch of mines in there. I think tape measure. They're kind of their problem is that they're more so in the happy-go-lucky club, right? Where it's like, oh, I hope things will go well, but then they don't actually think of ways to make it go well, right? So if they can come up with an idea, Holy Macaroni, I think they're gonna be capable of pulling it off. But if not, they're gonna struggle. Then we have the evilest team known to mankind. No, the evilest beings ever known to mankind. This is Evil Item Box, the Weird Pop guy. No, not the Weird Pop guy. Who are you? Uh, I don't know who this is. Wait, I'm trying to look at it. No, because I'm using the full screen basically, but the freaking Supernova is covering whoever that is. I don't know who that is. Then the dog balloon, the grape juice, the shape, the charger box, alongside the USB guy, and then the tape measure. I mean. Yeah, this team is based around one person primarily, right? It's based around the evil item box, which is a very useful team member to have, either because they can sabotage other teams or just do what you need done quick. But of course, you need to manage off that power. If they can manage the power, they'll be good. If not, I'm kind of doubting they're going to be able to do many things because they're kind of a poor team. Team Lithium. Watermelon Bomb, the weird drawer guy, the popcorn, it's Clark, highlighter, circle, pizza box, and the square pepper, cubed pepper. No, this seems fine. Yeah, no, this seems okay. This team should be capable of doing stuff middle of the board. There's enough combined energy, right? Like the popcorn can think of stuff, the watermelon bomb can think of stuff, the Clark can think of stuff, the highlighter can think of stuff, the pizza box can think of stuff. The Jorah can think and stuff. Yeah, everybody here can think reasonably well. I mean, you can't really understand the Q pepper and the circle much, but they're usually by trial and error probably sort out themselves pretty well. There's hashtag AB4485, which I hope that's how you say it. We've got the download thing, the hologram, the weird pan guy, microphony, the small fella, the box of color pencils, the lemon, and the Weezer. This team is what is this team? This team's fine. Yeah, looks pretty solid. The download fella, I mean, they look down on other people, but they're pretty smart. The hologram fellas, I think they're pretty smart. I mean, they disagree, but they're pretty smart. The Matchbox and the Weezer seem pretty chill. The other fellas are kind of a little bit dumber, but they'll go along with stuff, right? Even the small fella, I think, was a relatively good tactician. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this team should be okay in a lot of challenges, right? Do they have the physicality? That's kind of the question. They don't really have the physicality. No, but they do have the physicality. I mean, Hologram is one of the most uniquely physical people that there are. I mean, they're not necessarily strong in the natural way, but they're going to be interesting, right? So yeah, that's interesting. All right, another team, PiggyPug, who has the orange fellas, the orange trio, the pineapple. Then we got the frog bowl, telephone, the pencil, and then the freaking square cube of bees. that is the thing. This team is one of the teams of all time. Indeed. This team probably strikes me as they're not gonna actually do that much, but they're just gonna power friendship it out. This seems like the power friendship team. Everybody, there always needs a power friendship team. I think this is gonna be the power friendship team, and then Pineapple somehow does the challenge for them. That seems to be the idea of what's going on here with this team. But yeah, so we end up doing the challenge. I haven't actually thought about the challenge, and I'm not fucking going to. I protest against the challenge. The challenge is bullshit. It's the same fucking thing. That's like, yo, let's do a finding challenge, but then all the stars are in stupid spots that couldn't possibly be logic. So there's no analyzing that I can possibly do on this challenge, right? That this challenge is that yep, we're doing shit, like they're going places, and they either find the star or they don't find the stars, and then they steal the star, and then whether Supernova finds, and then whether you have to submit the star to Supernova or Supernova goes over to you and finds you, that's completely arbitrary, and everything is completely arbitrary. Somehow a star ends up in the bottom of the void, somehow a star ends up within the Q pepper. It's like, nah, whatever, I'm not taking this. Either way, the teams up for elimination at the end of it end up being the Twisters and the Pick and Mix. Who do I think gets eliminated here? It's kind of difficult because, again, there's not too much to properly clock in. Presumably on the Twisters should be the math book because they're kind of the egotistical mean. They're not mean, but they're very egotistical character that things are better than everybody else, right? Even though there is foul folder and cutting board. Oh, they're cutting board. Well, whatever. Cutting planks. A plank's a cutting board. It ends up kind of being pretty they're kind of annoying characters to some people, which can make them a problem. And Algebra Tau does turn evil there at the end, but I think Mapbook should still be going home. And there on the Pick and Mix, the problem here, no, it's Cactus Pot, surely. Cactus Pot theoretically should get eliminated because they end up kind of being the character they don't fail the challenge because of Cactus Pot. They fail the challenge because the challenge is bullshit, right? But like Cactus Pot directly sort of contributes to the team's failure by not searching, because everybody went together to the top of the hill and was like, okay, Cactus Pot's going to look elsewhere, and then they don't look elsewhere, right? Which ends up making kind of the whole complication, right? So yeah, Cactus Pot seems like the two. It is a vote to save, which implies that there is the possibility that somebody else gets out on accident. Right? I mean, in a vote to eliminate, those two get out. In a vote to save, somebody else could get out on accident, right? Like, oh, accidentally enough people didn't vote to save A, B, C, or E, even though they didn't mind them, right? Or they just weren't many fans, right? And then they could get out. But other than that, I think they'd be chill. But yeah, that is episode 1. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's super. It's animatic battle 1 to the point of being like, okay, bro. It's to the point of being okay, bro. Right? Levels of animatic battle 1. Right? Because again, I don't mind it. I don't mind the style. I just need you to to take a mild stab elsewhere, right? Like, you don't just gotta stab animatic 100 times. You can take inspiration from a different thing, you know? Like, you don't need to do the same thing. You know, you can do a different thing from time to time. It works. Trust me on this one. But all right then. Okay. I'll let it cook. I'll let it cook. Heading into episode 2 of the series, which is titled Spatial Unawareness. Let's go. Alright, so that is episode 2 of the Supernova Super Show, Spatial Unawareness. So let's clock in by starting off here by saying how much time was between these episodes. That's actually important. October 2024, and this was April 2025. So it's a decent amount of time that passed. So we have ourselves an episode that changes a lot of stuff about a lot of things. We start off here chatting about the recovery host who's currently dead, apparently, right? And since the recovery host is dead, the recovery host can't automatically recover people, which means that we need to use one of the other 400 recovery methods. The hologram can try. I find it, by the way, I find the default pose of the hologram itself to be kind of interesting. They like keep their arms down. It's like they're struggling to hover, but they try to recover the recovery hose, and it doesn't really work. So Twister ends up doing it anyways, after being like, I'm the best recovery center. But then we're all back, and then we end up having it do its whole shebang. Until eventually Hologram hits Supernova. So, Supernova. Alright, we must chat about Supernova. I know I said that the other time, but I have a feeling chats about Supernova are going to become relatively commonplace in this video. So, so when I chatted about episode 1, I had shit ton to complain about Supernova, because I thought Supernova was the main bad thing about the show. It was literally just animatic, but more boring in every single way. Because basically my critique in that stemmed that, like, well, animated battles, sure, they do things that are fun. They also are fun to look at, right? Like, that's the kind of thing where a character like an algebra like 4, like a host like animatic, right? The way that they're animated has so much variance to it, right? There's so much variance to the way that those two characters look, that it's not just fun to see them disintegrate someone. The way that they do it, like looking at them doing it, is fun in of itself, because the character is fun to look at, because it's interesting, right? It's stimulating in a way. Something that a Supernova JPEG just isn't capable of delivering, right? It just isn't, right? So even if you did everything that Animatic did in the exact way that Animatic did it, it would still be so much worse, right? If you put a Supernova in that same spot, basically. However, we have a 100% redesign of Supernova. Supernova is now properly assetted with a design that I'm gonna say it looks great. It actually looks great. It's sort of, everything sort of spins around in the same way, like, right? And it proper feels like, oh, it's like a paused frame of an explosion. It's like, you know, the game that simulates the universe, right? And you can pause it. This feels like when you pause an explosion in the middle of it, and you can like see how it operates. So as far as an asset, it's a great asset, right? Like, it's very cool. However, right, we now must chat about also the whole shebang with like the thing about the Supernova, which is also that, like, there was the complaint that, of course, they also acted a lot like animatic, right? Do they act a lot like animatic in this episode? The answer is no, not really. However, they do not act a lot in general, right? Okay, so they take a massive chill pill, like a chill pill of supernova quantities, because they nearly don't do anything, right? Like, they just kind of go to the challenge and it's like, yep, yeah, you're safe. Like, they're relatively chill. They don't, considering in the last episode how they disintegrate people. I mean, they do that in this case, but in in a much decreased capacity, right? In the first episode, they did about 7 times the amount of murders, and they were there for half the episode, for like only the second half of the episode, right? So like Supernova ends up being way more relaxed and nicer in this episode. You could debate that that makes them sort of not superbly interesting. However, at the same time, it is one of those situations where it's like Supernova uh, is already interesting by the fact that it's Supernova. Right, you know, like it's an interesting base, like it's an interesting pitch. Like then the personality style that you put on it is okay, right? But here we have a much nicer variant of Supernova. What would I do? I would probably tone it up a little bit, I think, right? Because we end up just having animatic. Supernova, of course, wants to be different from animatic. However, if you just remove all of the chaos from animatic, you end up kind of having just kind of a nice fella that just isn't too interesting in general. However, which I don't mind, but I don't think is what this show wants. I don't think is what this show wants. I don't think this show wants an unremarkable host. I think this show wants a remarkable host. So I think I would tone it up a little bit more. Not to the extent where we're just doing animatic again. However, I think that you should tone up a little bit. Like you should, like Supernova should strive to be a little bit more chaotic. Not again to the extent, but a little bit more. But anyways, one of the things about this new animatic model is that it really, really helps to scale animatic, right? Because the thing about no, sorry, I'm confusing the names. I confuse the names. I'm sorry. I'm putting them in the same conversation so much. It helps to scale Supernova. Sorry, animatic. Can y'all collab? Okay. Supernova. So the thing about it, it really helps to scale Supernova. Because the thing about that PNG of Supernova is that it's a PNG. A PNG is gonna look kind of not really a large size, right? And in the way that Supernova just was there on Earth chilling, it's kind of in the same way that Black Hole is a character. Like they're, even though they're a massive spatial thing, because of them just kind of being this one black circle, they can be placed on Earth as a thing and they don't really look. However, the way that Supernova looks here with this new asset just really helps to scale it up, because it's constantly moving, it's constantly acting, and even when Supernova is on Earth, it still looks big. Right, it looks like it's not meant to be there because of how big it is, right? So like Supernova is massive, but which is cool. I enjoy it. I do like the fact that, oh yo, we rewarded us for losing, but the other fellas go to a pizza party. That's kind of fun. Then we have 738 total votes, which I think is I don't know if this is divided by 2. I think it's divided by 2. But we end up having the Twisters. So, eliminated from the Twisters ends up being Cutting Board with not many votes. This is fine. Okay, so on both teams, the person that I predicted ended up getting right before the bottom 3, which is roughly. I mean, I didn't expect it because, of course, I predicted against it. I'm not gonna say it was expected. However, I am gonna say that it makes perfect sense, right? Like I clocked this, that. Like the vote to save is a little bit complicated because, the meaner character, however, usually can survive if they're so mean that they're remarkable, you know. In comparison to other characters. Cutting Board is one of the other options that I did put on the table, though. I'm just gonna say the options that say, yo, you're kind of annoying, so you're probably not gonna get many votes, right? File Folder is charismatically funny, right? So even though they're annoying, they're at least charismatic, so they got a lot of votes. But Cutting Board just kind of isn't. So they end up bye-bying. And then on the other team, Mince ends up getting eliminated, which is, I mean, they get no votes. Who cares? Like, I could not tell you. I didn't even realize it was mince meat. I thought it was a fucking blob. I was like, yo, is this like clay? But yeah, they end up getting eliminated. Like, the fact that apparently they talk in like slang language, like, yo, I'm goated and stuff. I literally didn't know. This was not knowledge I had. I'm sure they did in the one sentence they had in episode 1, but I didn't clock it in time, right? I didn't clock the gimmick in time for it to be relevant. So, goodbye. They get disintegrated, and they get turned into stars that are their respective color, which I think is interesting. as a potential. Maybe they're gonna be like filling up the sky. One of the things that I am gonna say, I think, is that I really like as a very subtle design detail is that Supernova leaving turns the sky completely dark. Yo, that's sick. Yo, that's kind of fire. I don't even know if that was an intentional design thing, but when Supernova goes down, there's 1 second, right, where the sky is completely dark. Yo, that's kind of yo, you know. But we then have ourselves the intro, which is mildly okay. It's retool. We retool the end of it so we can have a Supernova clock into it more properly, right? Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty similar. Um, but yeah, I mean, the Supernova in the intro doesn't move. Yeah. Like the Supernova, I mean, it's a new asset, but it doesn't move like the new asset does in the actual scenes. In the intro, it's actually static, which is interesting. But yeah, the other team gets back. We end up drinking this movie. Pineapple ends up drinking this. Not we. They end up drinking this movie in one slurp, which is pretty crazy. It wasn't very good apparently, but it makes the Rainbow Smoothie be absolutely like completely dozed off, which makes sense because that's what they are. I like this character thing. I mean, it's a character thing that a lot of the people have done, but it's still cool. Like every time it's cool. Then we end up having our challenge setup. It's probably the easiest challenge to explain ever. Challenge: get to the moon. I don't care, pap. Just go there. Yup, sounds good to me. And then that's the challenge. What do we think? We think that it is. What do we think? Yes, we, us, you, the viewer, with me. What do you think? No, I'm joking. But like it's a challenge. I like it. You know what? I think that I like a challenge that plays within the host as well. So having a challenge, a space related challenges or a space theme, right? Or like actively where we go to space, where we get to see space, or we get to see the moon, right? And all that stuff, right? Like even though it's not directly related to Supernova, it's like it's tangentially related, as in it's in the same category of thing. And I am gonna say I like that. I like it when a host makes challenges that feel like they would be correlated to them, basically, right? So I enjoy that quite a bit. Which makes that this challenge is like, even though Supernova themselves wouldn't necessarily, have anything to do with the moon, again, it's like they would be a spatial thing, therefore they would think of spatial concepts, right? So yeah. So of course this is one of those challenges that's like, how the hell do you get to the moon? The answer is you just do, bro. So one of the main ways to get to the moon is, of course, flying up there. Any team that has a flying contestant can just fly up there, right? But then it's like, wait, hold on, but there's no atmosphere in space, so how the hell can you breathe? The answer is, you just do. Yeah, I mean, no, you really do. You just kind of do it. Like in the elimination, we didn't solve it. At least we did like have that idea. But like, yo, we could die in space if we don't have oxygen in there, which is true. However, at the same time, it is also one of those situations where, yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely worth a try. And indeed, it just so happens that people can breathe in space, because it'd be pretty difficult if you didn't, because then you would need to build rockets and shit. And the teams don't do that for once. These challenges that's like go to space. I was like, I happen to know how to build a rocket, and it's like, bro, cactus pot, you do not know how to build a rocket. It's like one of those things where it's like it just feels bullshit, like bullshit knowledge. Like, I mean, okay, one team uses a rocket, but it's the team that makes sense. The team with the shapeshift, like you could just shape it into a rocket. That makes sense. But either way, we end up having Holy Macaroni fly up with everybody while they're on their wait. Then we end up having Pizza Box yet again and go like, yo, I'm gonna use this cubed pepper to solve all of my problems. So they hit up Watermelon the bomb and it's like, yo, I'm gonna do that, because they were having a conversation. I don't know why we're complaining about this conversation. Me when we are just chilling, having a conversation in the middle of a challenge, by bro. I understand if you're confiscating them out of challenge, but we're kind of doing important things out here, Apparently they were deported from the popcorn box. What is this? The popcorn box? But is that like a popcorn machine? Where they do they live in the popcorn machine and then they're like deported because like it didn't pop? Is that what it is? Oh my god! But then they were like, "Yo, I don't know how the hell that happened," but then we do end up that the static that glitches them out. It takes both watermelon bomb and pizza box within them, so they're off doing their own shenanigan. The clip-based circle ends up being very worried because nobody has actually heard of the plan other than them, but they just presume that since Q Pepper is gone, it's got to be one of those things. And it just so happens that new lore clickbait circle is an elite tier thrower. Why? I don't really know. Do I care? No, not really. Like, this is one of those things where we're early enough in the show where it's like, yo, I mean, if we're gonna be giving characters abilities, it's gotta be now, right? Like, we gotta baseline what these characters can do, and these early batch of episodes still happens, right? Because like, at the end of the day, you have to remember the place we are in the show is pretty fucking insignificant, right? Like, we've eliminated 2 people. Oh no, there's only 62 people left. Like, yeah, like this early batch, which is like the first 5 episodes. Like, it's a lot. It's probably entirely dependent on introducing the characters, knowing what we can do. Right? Then after we get out of the early game, when like 10 people have been eliminated, which is still the early game, but it's like the transition phase, you can start beginning arcs and shit. But right now, we are entirely in the early game. We just need to figure out what the fuck people can do, like figuring out their abilities, figuring out what they like and what they don't like, and then eventually transitioning into the middle game, we can begin arcs, and then in the middle game, we can flesh out arcs and have the drama occur. But currently, we are entirely just setting up characters for later for them to have arcs, right? So the fact that clickbait is a good thrower right now, I mean, like, sure, you know, if that's what you can do that, you know, for sure. So yeah, Supernova is giving them a sticker, which is cute. You see, they're like way nicer this time. I mean, would Animatic give a sticker? I feel like they wouldn't. I feel like they wouldn't do that. I mean, maybe they would if it's like, okay. It depends on the character. I feel like if a character they like was in first, because Animatic is favorite. So yeah. Either way, Major Tom cannot bring everybody on at once, but thankfully the other half is capable of being lifted up by the enchanting table, which is pretty swag. Then they end up having the idea of grabbing onto the rocket, which is a thing that you can do, I guess. So they fly over. Then they end up, however, that it's too hot. The speed at which they're going to, when they're just in raw space, doesn't actually work. So one of them is on fire and dies, and the other one ends up just floating around in space, the S-Pen, right? However, remember, one of the things that got thrown into space by the fella, no, they're thrown to the moon by the clip-based circle, was the recovery hose itself, because that's a pretty good strategy, right? If we just die and the recovery hose is over there, it revives us in there, right? Which is a pretty good tactic, right? Like, we can throw, but if you happen to die, then it's fine, right? It's perfectly suitable. Helps out the other teams as well, which is an issue. However, if it gets us safe, it doesn't matter who else is safe, right? So yeah, Charger and the USB port are doing their whole shenanigans. What are these teams doing? Oh yeah, for a while, a media player just digs. They just dig a really, really, really deep hole because they felt like doing that. Lemon has those flying capabilities, so their team ends up just taking into the lemon, and however they miss the moon, which is they miss the moon. It plays the exact same animation, I think, as when the bottle cap missed the moon, which I think is fun. So they end up flying over to the mysterious other planet. Remember the mysterious other planet that we mentioned at the elimination? Yeah, we end up going to the other planet that's full of lava and shit. Holy Macaroni gets their team finally up there. Good job. Then we end up having a thing. Okay, one thing I'm gonna say. So I'm pretty sure file folder has had a rework. I don't like it. I don't like the redesign. You know why I don't like the redesign? They just made file folder look like the 3DS folder, but yellow. They just made file folder like if the 3DS folder was yellow. They gave it the same ass lines. Okay, made those 2 characters different. What are we doing? We're just taking this one character and making them look like the other one. Like, I don't like that redesign. That redesign too similar. I like the fake vote for was Mathbook's joke funny. I wonder. Do you think that ever actually impacted somebody? Do you think somebody ever actually wrote, yes, it was funny? I I hope we did. I hope like we'll get to see it in the gag in like 2 episodes. That yo, it was funny, haha. You know, but then we end up having what do we have? We have a Team Lithium, yeah, which is just throwing up a bunch of shit. Then we have, yeah, S Pens in space. Oh yeah, the team, what the team ends of the math team, which is called the Twisters. How did I remember? I've never remembered a team name in life. New record. Sorry. I've remembered the team. I know, right? Crazy. But when they end up asking Clip-Based Circle, yo, can you throw us up there pretty please? And then Clip-Based Circle is like, fine, it's one team, and I mean, if we're again, if they are safe, they could whoever what other teams are for elimination doesn't really matter. So yeah, they go yes. They managed to throw themselves up because that's a thing that you can do. Also, I like how Clip-Based Circle threw everybody one by one, but can also just throw an entire team at the same time. We love wasting time for no reason. Anyhow, then we have ourselves the oh yeah, the glitch fellas. Alright, the people over in the Q Pepper. Yeah, they're just like, yo, I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? And then they're like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Until they eventually pop out on the moon, which is like, yeah, I mean, good job. I don't know how it works. I mean, currently it seems like you just do that and you get a free win button. However, like, I mean, you gotta make it interesting. What could it be? Should I theorize? I don't know. I don't currently have any ideas about what the hell could be going on, but whatever is going on, yeah, just don't make it a free win button, okay? Because that's kind of lame, right? Like you gotta make it, so you gotta give it some sort of cap, you gotta give it something, right? Some sort of depth, because currently it's just a free win button. So yeah. Then Enchanting Table ends up just floating up to space. Again, I love how they're like, yeah, I can go fast. I was just, wondering if you like the view. But yeah, the Major Beans is safe. Then the digging team ends up going, yeah. So they find a jetpack that happens to have a shit ton of, like that. One of those jetpacks were with falling against power. So they do that, then the team holds on to them, and then alongside that, S-Pen also manages to hold on to them because they wanted to do that. And then eventually that team is safe. We murder Charger for some reason. I don't know, it's fake item box. And then the last team that ends up there, I think it's the Lemon, right? It's the Lemon team safe. Yeah, because they land on the other planet. They check it out a little bit. It's kind of entertaining. And then they're like, yo, what if we jump on Meteor? Oh no, we jump on the asteroid and then you ride it to jump to the moon. That makes sense in a lot of ways, and however, all of those ways would be me lying because it doesn't. However, like, hey, it's one of those ideas that's just kind of crazy enough for it to work for this type of show. So I think it's fun. I don't really mind. It's kind of funky. So yeah, they do. I think yeah, the Punnett Square was going to build an epic thing until they just took too long. So that means that Team PiggyPug and Team the Evilest Beings known to mankind are up for Elim. So okay, I can actually see these character names: Rainbow Smoothie, Crazy Sherbet, and Crayon Candle. Okay, that's so hard to. Why do you put bright text on a green background? There has to be a bad decision in life. Okay, anyways, okay, on Team PiggyPug, you gotta kinda, you remember, you vote for irrelevancy more than for a character being mean. Rainbow Smoothie, nah, because they didn't do. S-Pen's fun. I think Pineapple's pretty fun. They're the mean one, but I think they survive. Telephone's interesting. Punnett Square's at least interesting. I think that I'm gonna say Crazy Sherbet gets out. No. I think it's one of the two. Which one? Ooh. Candle. No. Yes, the candle. The candle gets out. I think the candle gets out. And on the other side, we've got the Charger Dodge fake item. This team. Wow, this team didn't do a damn thing. This team is irrelevant. Okay, fake item box is is the mean one, but at least they're kind of fun, so they should be surviving. Um, Charger's fine. The charging dock, I think they both should be safe. Radio's kind of fun with the way that they're just super oblivious. Go hello. Grape soda at least had one of the final lines of the episode. I think the shape's fine. I think it's Rainbow Breaker dot to it. My presumption is dog toy. Yeah, dog toy, because Rainbow Brick is from the other show, and the other show is like you get the fans. It doesn't have enough votes to really outweigh that. So I'm gonna say that dog toy should. I'm going to say they get eliminated. So I think, let's see, because last time I eliminated based on meanness, I think if based on meanness, you'd eliminate Pineapple with Fake Item Box. However, based on irrelevancy, I think I'd eliminate the candle and the dog toy. I think I'd do that. However, we will have to, of course, see. And then we have the outro where somebody ends up getting them out. Fake item box for some reason wants to go to the moon. Why do they want to go to the moon? I don't know. They want to probably destroy the moon. They want to eat the moon. Isn't the moon made of cheese? The moon's made of cheese. No, it's not made of cheese. But like that's just a thing in other things. Who decided that the moon was made of cheese? Isn't that like a book? I'm sorry. I'm getting way too sidetracked by the moon being made of cheese. I apologize profusely. It is time for episode 3 and the Objectcember release of the very Super Show. S-Pen Super Show, alright, and that's gonna go well. Let's go. Alright, and that is the third episode of Supernova Super Show. Supernova Super Show 3. There's a lot of words with S in Supernova Super Show, S-Pen Super Show. Yeah, but we start off here with none other than the intro for Objectcember, of course. The biggest fella in the tagline has officially been there, and again. One more time, the fella in the Objectcember, the host in the Objectcember intro, is actually absent from their Objectcember episode. 3. Google's absent from the GDS episode, Liney's absent from the BFTDI episode, and now Supernova is absent from the Supernova Super Show episode. I get that we're all buddies over here, but you can change up the ideas a little bit. What are we doing? But anyways, we start off where we left off, which was most of them on the moon. Rainbow Smoothie ends up getting recovered, and then they get informed about how the challenge went, because of course they were completely absent. I mean, they weren't absent; they were just completely dozed off, right? So then we have the teams that are on Earth, right? The team that's on Earth. That's the only fella. They're like, how do we get to the moon? The answer is, I don't really know how to do that. We could try to die, but it's surprisingly difficult. Without somebody who's actually good at murdering. So then we end up having Tennis Square manage to, for some reason, have a signal thing that happens to connect to a remote thing that happens to connect to the telephone and sends the signal to the telephone. Basically, they can communicate through the telephone, which is A, cool, and B, also cool, which I vibe with that idea. I mean, is it an overcomplicated way to do it? Not really, because you can do the gag that is over-explained. Oh, yo, the guy is just smart. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fun. And then we have ourselves the main information that ends up switching the episode. This paper that says Supernova is gone for some reason. What is Supernova doing? I don't know, but Supernova isn't here, which means that the fellas get to host. Okay, so we need to have a chat about Supernova. Dude, if we can Supernova. Okay. So in episode 1, I was complaining, yo, Supernova is actually animatic. In episode 2, I'm like, yo, we toned it down too much. Right? And here in episode 3, we toned it down so much, bro isn't even there. The fella just left. Supernova dipped. Not there anymore. Okay. What? Where did you go? And it's like, okay, I mean, I don't know. It's weird because it's not even they don't even make an excuse. Like it's not. We don't get to see what Supernova is doing. I mean, we see Supernova in one shot while in the car drive. That they were on. So presumably they were on another side or doing what, I don't know. Why, I don't know, and why they didn't feel like hosting, I don't know. Right? But they don't even try to make up excuses for this. They just don't do anything. So yeah, this show feels like it is, to me at least, this show is in a battle to try to figure out Supernova. Because that's like the one thing that's really holding this show back, right? It's because we have a lot of other shows. Like, if there's one thing they do tend to know, they know their host. Right, their host is like that primary piece of info. Maybe the characters aren't decided yet, but at the end of the day, you know who Animatic is. You know who for. You know who, like, even a host like Google. Like, Google is assertive. It's direct. You're like, yes, this is the host. Right, like, this is what you are. But in this show, we've not solved it, and that puts, I think, everything else in quite a little bit of jeopardy, because it's like, who is Supernova? What is Supernova? That identity doesn't feel like it's been formed yet, because in episode 1 we just control C, control V that Automatic, right? Okay, fine. I mean, if that's the identity, it's lame, but you can do it. But then in episode 2, we completely we factory reset Supernova to just being a thing, just being a host. That doesn't really do much to it. Doesn't do anything debatably, right? So we pretty much factory reset Supernova to the point where they're nothing. And in this episode, they're literally nothing, as in they're not there, right? I mean, they come back to be like, oh, you did it, right? But like, at the end of the day, they don't do anything, which means that we're not we're 3 episodes in, and I don't know how the host identity. Who is the host? What is the host? Do they matter? Like, I mean, they do matter. You're Supernova. The host of the show is the Supernova. How do I not know what the Supernova acts like? That's like half of the appeal, is that it's interesting as a concept. But it's like, it's the absolute debate. This show is on a. It has to figure out Supernova. It has to be decided on Supernova, what it is. Because when you do an episode like this, where you're specifically writing Supernova out of it, after having a complete change of how Supernova looks and acts in episode 2, after having episode 1 where Supernova wasn't very unique, it from this perspective, it just looks like you have no idea what you're doing with this character. And like, it ends up kind of losing the faith of it, right? And then, if it was any other character, it's fine, but this is the host. This is the titular character of the show. This is an important thing, right? So basically, figure out who this is. Figure out Supernova. That's absolutely necessary thing. We need to figure out Supernova, because we're really not. We're really not, or at least it's not displayed to us. It looks like you've not figured out Supernova, which isn't good to look. It's not a good look to have. Makes it look incompetent. Okay, it's not cool. All right, but anyways, well, we have ourselves the classic contestants hosting. So they end up debating about who the hell should host for about 1,000,000 years, until as they end up squabbling for 1,000,000 years, they end up deciding. No, the paper ends up flying off and landing on Hologram, who decides, okay, fine, we host. So hologram, the base of the hologram ends up hosting one team's elimination, while the hologram themselves end up hosting the second part. All right, so we have 628 votes. I like how the hologram is kind of happy that the show fails, because it's less than last time. So the eliminated on one team ends up on this team ends up being the a Crayon Candle, which had 18 votes comparatively to. By the way, the bottom 2 was the smoothie. No, not the smoothie. Was the sherbet and the candle. Which, yeah, I mean, it just absolutely points out that, like, those 3 were nothing. They were nothing burgers. And smoothie survives because they get pity. But the rest, I mean, it's just, there's nothing. Right? So the candle ends up getting out with 18, and it's like, hey, I feel like I let you all down. You know, it's not like in the last challenge we didn't do a fucking damn thing. You won't say that. Like, these rainbow people just sat there and did nothing, while everybody else was trying to get to the moon. That team does 0 things, and it's like, yes, okay, now I let you all that. I mean, I guess, but there was a global failure. There's a reason why it was the bottom 2 and I was the bottom 1. Anyways, goodbye. Then, on the other team, the eliminated contestant by 4 votes with 21 is Dog Toy, comparatively to the USB. I didn't clock that the USB would get lame, but I guess if you like that combo of people, you would just vote Charger because they're more interesting than USB. So I see why USB was in the bottom 2, but Dog Toy's out. I'm hilariously impressed at my capability to actually have gotten both of them. I was very unsure I thought I was gonna be dead wrong. I'm gonna be honest. When I said them, I was like, I mean, it's what I feel like, but I don't think that I'm gonna be right. But I actually was right on both of them, which I'm very impressed with myself. Yay! Clap emoji for me. Yee. Okay. Anyways, we can now keep it moving. We have the intro, which is like the first time we see Supernova. And then we have the challenge. But who's gonna host the challenge? Well, I don't know. The eliminated contestant, because Doctor is there, still hanging out on the moon. The other one's on Earth, so they can't host, which means that Doctor has to just simply host it. And they're like, I mean, I guess I got to do it, right? Okay. Weird thing. Did Potion Pouch always have one leg? Am I going crazy? Is this a thing? I did not notice like the entire time. Have they ever walked? Have I ever seen them walk? Because I don't know. I mean, I was like, surely they'd have an interesting walk cycle, but I've never like noticed it in the other episodes, which is like, whoa. I guess not. I mean, wow, that's weird. I did not notice it until randomly. Wait, you have one leg. Kind of interesting. I mean, it's honestly one-legged characters are an interesting character trait that people really just do not do enough with. Like anytime I see a one-legged character or a character that's only standing on one leg, we do not do it justice. You know, I think even Animatic Battle I think has one. Wait, does it? Yeah, it does. But like we don't really do much about it. So it's potential. Anyways, challenge rock climbing. You have to get top of a rock tower for each of your respective teams. We end up somehow forming the rock tower by slamming microphone onto the ground because that works. And then we end up having the simple shebang. Get to the top and you'll make it. So then the teams do a couple of things. S-Pen for some reason has a super van, which is very BFDI core. This super van has the capabilities of going straight down or straight up if you want. So they end up going straight down to Earth, which is pretty cool. However, they end up landing on the completely opposite side of Earth because Earth spins, which is crazy. I mean, you could debate that Earth maybe shouldn't be spinning because hold on, wait, what happens when the Earth has no sun? Because remember, supernova, there's no sun. The supernova, the supernova did indeed happen. I mean, theoretically, be spinning out of control. No, it would spin off rotation. No, so it would spin. Okay, never mind. Wrong complaint. So, yeah, they land on the opposite side of Earth, so they end up having 637 miles until they can actually land back at their location because of the GPS. File folder ends up absolutely getting their team up there because they can no-scope. They can do what is it called? I think it's like a CSGO thing. There you shoot down. It's not B-hopping. B-hopping is you go backwards. No, this is a TF2 thing, right? It's like rocket, fuck, what is it called? Like rocket cannon? I'm so close to the answer. It's not that. Rocket launching. No, that's just the name. Well, look, trust me, it's a thing. ABC3 ends up being, ABC3 is such an interesting character, because they don't act like how I'd expect them to at all. They act like the inverse. They act like the YouTube channel. That's why I'd actively expect the news network to act in the opposite way that the ABC3 acts. Right? I mean, they're not a new network; they're just a random TV channel. Or what is it? What is ABC3? Do you know what ABC3 is? It's like an Australian thing, I think. Then they end up they end up having a battle because they feel like having a battle. Oh yeah, they throw. The fella, they end up at the top. Oh yeah, fucking Peter Buds gets shot. Yeah, you don't mess with guns, alright? You don't mess with guns. Then Charger ends up, apparently their cable's long enough to stretch for the length of the tower, so most people just climb it until the evil Pop-Tart is like, yo, I am evil, so I will do that. What does this fella do? Oh yeah, they try to fly enchanting table, and then Radio goes like, hello, as they usually do. Radio gets laser. They manage to withstand the laser because they can do that. To be fair, it makes for a pretty cool scene. For a moment, I thought they were going to be like Kara Undertale, but no, they didn't. They didn't do that. So, they just keep saying hello. In the meanwhile, evil item box ends up just simply getting the rest of them up there by being evil, and then their team ends up being safe. So no risking for them this time around. Then what the hell do we have? Oh yeah, the jetpack is gone out of fruition. Then that team goes like, yo, let's break the base. I mean, by the team, I mean media player does that underground. Like, yo, let's break the base. That way, if it dropped down and we technically hit the top, or at least the top's gonna be easier to get to. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It just takes a while because rocks, and we don't really have a shovel. Holy Macaroni ends up yet again just flying, because it's an idea that you can do, right? Then we end up finding, the supernova is just chilling there on a place on Earth, doing something, but they're just there. And yeah, Holy Macaroni manages to get into the top of a raw tower. Hey, if you have a challenge that is just get to a place that is difficult to get to, and you have contestants that can fly, yes, they do tend to do that. So yeah, I mean, that team's just gonna win. I recommend having a challenge that isn't that next time. Maybe, with a host that's actually a host. I know it'd be crazy. But, yeah, the revival host revives. Then apparently Lemon has strained, because they can do weird flying stuff, but they're officially been rate limited, which is fair. Then we end up having the match pencil box and abusing the pencils to climb, then them beating the other ones down there as tools for the rest of them to use. Lemon flies with only microphony because they I don't know. Do I? No, I don't know. It just felt like it. It's Lemon. Come on. Then we have Enchanted Table flies over with Torte, and they go like, yo, should we have Pop-Tart on this team? I mean, you want to lose on purpose? You saw having to pop all that one time. I mean, they didn't say that, but yeah. Major Tom ends up YOLOing their way up there because they are good. The shape-shifting powers end up being way more than enough to get the job done here, which is nice. Then dude, I'm now. Does Potion Pouch ever walk? I'm trying to look at the walks like I really want to know. Now I really want to know, but I don't get to see it. But we end up having a montage for why do we have a montage? I don't know, we felt like I'm in a montage. Everybody climbs, however, Cubed Pepper is not there because because everybody forgot about Cube Pepper because Cube Pepper has just been sitting there because of that one time I think they got thrown. Sitting at the bottom because they can't get up on their own. So, okay, let's talk about Cube Pepper for a moment. What is going on with Cube Pepper? So, in the last two challenges, right, we poked Cube Pepper, we went into the glitch dimension, and then afterwards the challenge was done for them, either by getting to the moon or by just having a star there, right? Which is immensely interesting because the Cube Pepper in this challenge, nobody pokes them, however, they don't move, right? Which makes for a pretty interesting situation. So how does that mind work? How does the static mind, the corruption mind work? It seems like how it goes is my presumption here. You want to hear my presumption? I don't know if this is I don't think it's how it works, but my presumption, all right, is that I think what's going on is that this guy as I don't know why, for what reason, but their mind is they're completely out of control of their own body, right? Like they're completely gone. Whatever's going on, the mind is entirely detached from the body, right? Which means that when you're saying stuff on the outside, you're not actually clocking it. Right, they're not understanding it, they're not hearing anything, and they can't really control it. However, they might have some teleporting powers, which means that you have to somehow, by directly feeling it, manage to glitch out. And within there, you by chatting about the what you need to do for the challenge, they end up realizing the challenge because you're now within them in the mind, right? And that means that they can now understand it and then act on it, right? It's not exactly correct all the time. But I don't think in challenge 1 we directly say that there's a star. However, it seems like this fella can do a lot. They just need to be given the information, and for some reason the mind and the body don't connect, which is kind of interesting. Again, it's very far-fetched. I think it's wrong. However, it's what my mind arrives to. The team of the Super Vans ends up driving over. We end up driving over a red land with a bunch of other people. I don't know if this is a cameo. for another show. It'd be a good spot to put in a cameo if there ever was one. But like, yeah. Then what do we have? Oh yeah, we end up going to Earth. We get in the van, and then the van ends up just yeeting itself up because that is one of the things that it can do, which is pretty fire. No, now that I think about it, why didn't they do that the other challenge? Was this new? Oh, that's suspicious now. But eventually they end up chopping over the thing, and then they touch the top. And I mean, they technically did indeed touch the top, which is pretty cool. Q Pepper doesn't manage to get up. I'm surprised that nobody goes down to try. I mean, it felt like the idea. Like, Q Pepper isn't going to just randomly start moving. I mean, I thought the idea was just, one of them go down, glitch. Because every time that we glitched, we went together to the finish. So I thought, I mean, somebody's going to go down there. I mean, I thought that was the idea. I mean, especially Pizza Box seems very unafraid of actually tackling the idea, right? So I thought that was what we were going to do. But no, they just sit there and go like, yeah, I mean, it sure would be great if Q Pepper showed up right now, even though they don't do anything unless prompted. Like, bro. But either way, Lemon ends up getting to the top. Then we have the last couple of climbers who do okay. They ended up struggling to climb a little bit. We end up dropping off. Oh yeah, the little mini fella ends up getting knocked up by the highlighter cap. It always manages to hit somebody, but then eventually the super van makes it, which is what happened. They all dance and have a fun time, and then Supernova arrives from their there was something they were doing a thing. I'm sure it was very important. Yeah, I don't trust. I'm not a believer right now. Then Supernova goes like, thank you, and then they get eliminated. And then Candle gets also eliminated and turned into a star. Ooh. And that means that team hashtag 8B4485 and Team Lithium are up for elimination. Who's going to get eliminated and who is going to make it beyond the final 60? Well, let's see. On episode 1, sorry. On Team 8B, let's see. Okay, Hologram I think should be safe. They were cool. I like Drag and Drop just as an idea. Microphone is fun. Lemon is fun. Color Pencil Box is fun. Frying Pan, I think, makes it. Yeah, but they were incapacitated. Marshmallow, I think Weezer album. The Weezer album is just the least interesting, to me at least. Weezer album is the least interesting, because they don't really do that much. The other teams, at least, they all get up to a little bit of shenanigans they have the later scene. Weezer album got up there early. It was like, it wasn't that bad. And then kind of had a couple of on and off chats, but they didn't do anything major. I think Weezer album gives me but they are funny, just like as an idea. No, I have to say it. I think that's be the prediction. I have no idea. This one I'm probably even less confident in the ones on the last episode, but I think yeah. And on Team Lithium, okay, Q Pepper should be safe, absolutely, in my opinion. Pizza Bar should also be safe. They only got shot. I think that Clickbait Circle didn't do shit in this episode. Highlighter safe, in my opinion. Popcorn should also be safe. Which leaves Watermelon Cork develop. Okay, I'm gonna say that Potion Patch appears enough, and Watermelon Bomb should survive. I'm thinking it's Cork. Does Cork do anything in this episode? What does Cork do? Shit. Does Cork do what? The Clickbait Circle really didn't do much in this episode. But I think I'm going to say the heroics from the last episode survived. I'm saying Cork. I don't know. Cork did have a cool personality. Like, I like Cork. I like most of this team. Like, I'm looking at them. Like, they're pretty cool. I don't really care about Potion Power that much, other than seeing how they walk. But other than that, it's like fine. I'm going to have to say Cork on this one. But, because it's just what I'm feeling. I feel like everybody else is relevant enough. But at least I'm interested in the Q Pepper thing, and Pizza Box, Q Pepper, and Watermelon Bomb. Watermelon Bomb doesn't do anything except the Q Pepper. No, but it do one of the things in the montage. No, I have to say Cork. I think Cork. Weezer album and Cork are my predictions for the 2 eliminations, but we will have to see. Voice actors, the screen change a little bit, but we still use the cool split from name to name, which is fire. But yeah, what's the post-credit scene? Hey, I don't know why I don't know what the post-credit scene is. This is the guy that's annoying. I don't know why the small guy is annoying. Like, why? Why are you annoyed? No, not annoyed. Why are you annoyed? Sorry. Why are you annoyed? I don't know. But either way, that's the post-credit scene, and that is episode 3, and that is Supernova Super Show, the current state of it. In terms of general animation, is good. It's very good. It's very high quality. Um, it's not a house to look at all. They managed to make cool effects. There's tons of backgrounds. There's tons of cool shit, right? And especially from the beginning, I'm really happy that Supernova got an asset. Like that was the one thing that I really wanted, and it did happen, which was nice. But in terms of the future, again, in my opinion, in my personal eyes, this entire show and its identity and what it can become, it has to be set by Supernova. Supernova has to set the pacing of the series, right? Because at the end of the day, shows react to how their hosts act. If you have a really nice host, the characters will respond in a certain way to both how they act to the host and how they act to the challenges directly, right? The challenges are directly how teams do challenges at the end of the day are directly dependent on what they think they can do, and what they think they can do is directly reliant on what they think the host allows, and what the host allows is dependent on the host's personality. Everything, the host is so important, and this show has a complete absence of one. Okay, again, this show, again, this episode is an absent one. Oh, it's just one episode. No, in my opinion, in the last episode, there's also an absence of one. In the last episode, Supernova is on default mode, and they don't do anything. They just go get to the moon, and then they go, yes, you did it. No, you didn't do it. Yes, you did it. Good job. You're up for elimination. Like, they don't do anything. Right? So, again, we need to put a lot of effort into giving Supernova its identity. And that way, when Supernova has its identity, the show by as a whole gains its identity around it. Because currently it's cool. I see all of the groundwork of cool stuff and cool episodes, right? However, I think it's still a little bit confused. I think it's still a little bit confused. Because it depends on Supernova, and I need to see how Supernova. The characters don't really know what's going on with Supernova, right? The characters are confused themselves, right? Which makes this sort of confused vibe. So yeah, that is the most important thing and the thing that decides everything. Because other than that, everything's good. Like genuinely, everything's already very, very solidly. I think that the writing of the episodes itself is also very solid. There haven't been too many inter-team shenanigans. However, once you have this many characters, very nice, right? Like, one of the things that shows like this needs to do is get a couple of teams safe immediately out of the way, so that we can focus the screen time on the others. Otherwise, you're just spreading out between too many people. That is what the show is doing. Certain teams like the flying ones have been safe immediately, right? Or just have really easy ways to do a challenge where you only need like 2 scenes for them, right? So it's doing very well in the pacing department. It does well in the audio department. It does well in the animation department. Voice acting department is all solid. It's just that, again, pacing is of course part of the writing department. We just don't know what the fuck we're doing with Supernova, and that's what we need to solve. And then you'll have an epic show. But so far, SuperShow, maybe we have not found the big mushroom. That brings you from Mario to Super Mario. Currently, we're just Mario. Okay. Instead we're not quite a supernova yet. We're still just a nova. Okay, we're getting there. But with that, I think that is all I can realistically say about Supernova Super Show. Man, I really want this to be good. Man, I really want it. I really want it. I really want it, bro. Like this is one of those things where it's like I see it. I see the potential. It feels like we're inching it. Because Supernova is an excellent idea, it's just not there. But alright. Anyways, I can't just keep saying the same thing about Supernova over and over. So I'm gonna just shut myself up here. Alright. And say that is all. Next thing, I think it's the outro, but next thing. Alright, and that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. Technically, I could look at something else. However, one of the things about these Objectcember specials is that they feel kind of like they feel like they kind of overwhelm something. Because if I'm doing everything about an Objectcember episode and then I take a look at Luigi, whatever, right, next is that it'll kind of end itself off as weird, right? Because it doesn't quite feel right when it's get paired up with a thing that it's not, right? Especially if I only take a look at one thing, which would be the more likely outcome, right? Like in the case where, for example, I did take a look at like GDS5 on its own as an Objectcember, right? And then I took a look at a bunch of other stuff. But then that was one episode of a show I've already watched, right? Because like even though it was the Objectcember, okay, basically the reason is GDS5. The reason why I took a look at that wasn't Objectcember. It was just because I was doing a keep up episode, right? So that wasn't the thematic of the video. Even though it got named Objectcember because of the overlap, I didn't take a look at GDS5 because of Objectcember. I took a look at it because of the keep up, which I already was doing, right? But in the cases of the BFTDI and the PMOS and WTB, it was like it's directly a section of the Objectcember. Like the video is made to be Objectcember, and the same thing goes for here, right? Which means that when it's here, I think it's best to just leave the Objectcember to the Objectcember, not connect too much other stuff to it incorrectly, and just keep itself in the way that it is. For Battle for Life, for Battle for Death, and for Supernova Super Show, we are currently all caught up. See you in the next episode of the Object Catch Up. Goodbye.